book lovers, it is G-Swiss here, and I am here today to talk about the books that I have been waiting for forever. Well, the term forever might just be sarcastic, but I have seriously been waiting for the sequels to these book series, or just these books in general, for quite some time. And if you didn't know, this is a 7 on Sunday topic, and I am the host of 7 on Sunday. I will link the Goodreads page down in the description where you can check it out and you can participate in a topic in the future, or you can suggest a topic. And while I'm constantly thinking about my TBR being incomplete in terms of some of the series, and I'm constantly thinking about spin-offs, I never thought about this as a 7 on Sunday topic until recently, and I decided that I wanted to talk about this because I think it's kind of cool to look back on all the time that I've spent waiting for some of these books. And some of the books on this list are confirmed to happen, but some other books on this list, unfortunately, we don't know when they're gonna happen or if they are gonna happen. I think it just depends on publishing these days. So I guess without further ado, let's get straight into this list of books that I've been waiting on for a while, and I will explain how long I've been waiting for them and pretty much the process that it has been so far, and whether or not that process has been successful or I just feel like it's still dragging on and it might eventually fail. One of the success stories that I have to bring up today is Throne of the Fallen by Kari Maniscalco. This is the spin-off to the Kingdom of the Wicked series. I'm really happy that this is happening because as soon as I read Kingdom of the Wicked for the first time, I just knew that this series needed spin-offs. I had a personal feeling that the potential for the series would have been absolutely wasted if we just ended it off on Kingdom of the Wicked, even before Kingdom of the Feared came out, which is the final book in that trilogy. I knew immediately as I was reading the first book that we needed to see spin-offs following the different brothers. I personally don't think that you can make a 7 Deadly Sins concept without exploring a few more of those than just one of them, you know? So that is why I definitely crossed my fingers and my toes for a spin-off to Kingdom of the Wicked, and I'm so happy we're getting that in Throne of the Fallen. I don't have to wait too much longer for it, thankfully, but I've definitely waited a few years for this one, so that is why I decided to add it to this list. And the next book that I have to mention that I've been waiting on for a while that's kind of also somewhat of a success story is Gold by Raven Kennedy. This is the 5th and the final book in the Plated Prisoner series, and I've wanted to know how the series ends ever since I read the first book in the series. And I believe I read the first book in the series around 2 years ago now. I haven't continued on with the series, but I just need to know how things are gonna go. I just want the final book to be published before I can binge read the rest of them, because I'm hearing from lovers of the series that the cliffhanger for the 4th book is painful. For some people, it's kind of killed the hype as well. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of worried about that, honestly, but I think if I have the 5th book ready to go, then I don't have to worry about it for a long period of time. This book was actually initially meant to be out by now. I think the release date was meant to be May of 2023, and it got pushed out to December. So I am still having to wait for it, but I believe that I've been waiting for this finale since I've read the first book, which was a few years ago. So that is kind of why I've put it on this list. Even though it was always scheduled to come out in 2023, I feel like I've waited for it forever, and I'm very much looking forward to reading this one because I definitely want to see Oren rise up, rule, reign, whatever. I just want Oren to be happy. Seriously, I already know that this is going to happen, but the question is when. The book I'm referring to is the next ACOTAR book, which I believe might just follow either Azriel or Lucian or Elaine or Gwyn. I just really want Gwyn to have her own story, personally. I just want the next book to be about Gwyn. I want Gwyn to have her happy ending. I feel like I got to know more about Gwyn in one book than I got to know about Elaine in the entire series. Like, Elaine's entire personality is everything is better with flowers and everybody must be kind to each other. And I'm not saying that I never want to follow Elaine. She's just not giving me main character material. I just feel as if her personality is flowers and kindness. That's all we're getting from her. But I am hoping that Lucian will bring more out of her. That's just my personal opinion. Okay, I understand that the ship wars are a little bit toxic at the moment, and I think a big reason why I want to see the next book come out soon is to kind of shut people up. I just want to know how things are gonna go because I just want to be able to ship who Sarah wants us to ship. I think that at this point, with the wait time, headcanons are being made to the point that things are going a bit too far and the fandom is being a little bit toxic about it. Yes, I have strong opinions about who I do ship in the series. I really do ship Gwyn and Asriel because I've gotten to know Gwyn, I've gotten to know Asriel, and I've gotten to know Lucian. I've barely gotten to know Elaine, so I can't ship Elaine with Asriel if I don't really know much about her. But what I do know is that Lucian wants to be with her. So that's kind of why I'm shipping the way that I'm shipping. But I think at this point there are so many headcanons for these characters and it's gotten a little bit ridiculous. So that is why I want to see the next ACOTAR book come out. That all being said, I think that it's kind of a good idea that the next Crescent City book is coming out because after the second book in the Crescent City series, I think a lot of people lost interest. At this point of time, Sarah has got to win back the Crescent City crowd. I can understand why the next book coming out from Sarah is a new Crescent City book. I just need answers for the ACOTAR series. And now another success story in my list. I have been waiting for the Fragile Threads of Power since the year A Conjuring of Light came out. Back then, I was also a series binger, so I purchased all the books and I read all of them, and it took me a while to get into the series. I remember not liking the first book, but I do remember as soon as I started reading the second book, I got into the series. I absolutely fell in love. I remember at the time that I got into the series, Victoria Schwab announced that she was going to be writing a spin-off series, and I have been waiting ever since then. And I believe that it has been 6 or 7 years since that has been announced. I remember the morning the Fragile Threads of Power got announced, I started tearing up. I got so excited. I was like, Camilo, guess what? The spin-off series has been announced. And I mean, he hasn't even read the Darker Shade of Magic series yet. He wants to eventually because I've just told him great things about it. And I am just really, really, really excited for this spin-off because I've been waiting years for it. Look, it might not be the best thing ever written. I know that it took me a while to get into A Darker Shade of Magic, but I love this world too much and I enjoyed following the characters a lot in the previous series that I reckon I might just really love this book series. It might take me some time. Maybe the first book will take a little bit of adjusting to, but overall I am really excited to read the Fragile Threads of Power. I seriously cannot wait, and I think I'm going to reread the books in the lead up to the Fragile Threads of Power. I know that I'm probably not going to see them the same way the first time that I read them. However, I just want to recap on everything in the lead up to this next book because it has been around 6 years since I read A Darker Shade of Magic. And speaking of V.E. Schwab, I have been telling everyone that V.E. Schwab initially said that the Villains series was going to be a trilogy, and so many people were like, no, it's a duology. And then for some reason, I remember there being a box set that said the Villains duology, and I ended up being devastated because I thought that that was an official announcement that Victoria Schwab was not going to be writing a final book in the series. I just desperately needed this series to be expanded upon. I just needed another book with these characters because I loved Vengeful. I seriously find it so funny that a lot of people said that Vengeful was a mediocre book. It wasn't great, when I actually preferred Vengeful over Vicious. And I remember Vicious putting Victoria Schwab on the map, and I get that, but Vengeful happens to be my favorite book in the series so far. Victorious will be coming out sometime later. I'm so excited. I just desperately needed more books within this world. I know that there was a comic that was released within this world that I do have an edition of, and I have not read it yet, but for some reason I have not been feeling motivated to pick it up, and I think that reason is because that I have just been secretly waiting for the next book in the series before I put myself through a full-on binge read. I cannot wait for this series to be continued, and I seriously cannot wait to go back into this world and reread everything because it has actually been quite some time. And the next book I feel like I've been waiting on for forever is Darkbringer by Audrey Gray. This is the 5th and final book in the Kingdom of Runes series, and I have wanted to binge read this series for quite some time. I've read the first book, Oathtaker, before, and I got through some of Cursebreaker, but I did not continue on with the series. And at the time that I read it, I found it to be okay, but I hear that the series really picks up from book 3, and I've noticed that in length as well. And I believe that Darkbringer is also going to be a chunky book. However, I don't believe that that is the full reason why the author delayed this book. Now, I personally don't know what happened to Audrey Gray's family at the time, but what I do know is that they were having a tough time, and that is what pushed the final book out. And Audrey wanted the final book in the series to be perfect, and I totally get that. I totally understand that. But yeah, she delayed it. I believe that this book was meant to come out around 2 years ago now, 1 or 2 years ago. I believe that it's coming out at the end end of this year, and I am very much looking forward to it. And I don't want to put too much more pressure on Audrey. I just hope that she's able to complete it the way that she wants to complete it, and that she's taking time for herself. At first, none of the fandom knew what was going on, but as soon as Audrey Gray took the time to update us, I feel like everyone completely understood. I definitely appreciate her bravery and honesty. I actually pre-ordered the Bookish Box special editions for the series as well because they were actually very pretty and I could not resist. And I think a lot of people were concerned about the final book. They're like, what's going on? But at that time, the author took the time to open up about how book 5 is currently in production. I'm wishing them all the best, and I cannot wait to continue on with the series. So, does anyone remember this series, The Sixth World? I've waited for book 3 for a while. No, not just me. Everyone has been waiting for book 3 for a while. Like, I am seeing Rebecca Roanhorse write in other projects, in other book series. When Trail of Lightning and The Sixth World, it's right here. It hasn't left. The first 2 books are out in the series, and nothing has been announced about the rest of the books. I believe that this was meant to be a quartet. According to Goodreads, there are 2 untitled projects attached to the series, and I am frustrated because these first 2 books were really good. They're pretty short, but they're really good projects. And unlike the Fragile Threads of Power situation, I believe the next few books in the series aren't meant to be spin-offs. No, they're meant to be continuations for like the actual plot of the story. And this just really frustrates me because we are left on a massive cliffhanger in the second book. I really need to know how this is going to end, or how this is at least going to continue. If not, I will be reading fanfiction about it because I just so desperately need to know what happens next. And I want to reread these books so bad, but I can't bring myself to reread them either because I'm just gonna be let down once again by the fact that I am left on a cliffhanger. And look, I want to read more by Rebecca Roanhorse, but I'm also kind of bitter that she hasn't revisited this project. Like, I want to be able to support some really good authors, but the wait time for series like this is just, it's a little ridiculous, you know? And speaking of situations I'm bitter about, when is this series going to end? Okay, I have waited forever to find out when this series is gonna end. And the other day, I had a friend tell me that these authors get paid by page count on Kindle Unlimited, and no wonder. No wonder why they are dragging this series on. Zodiac Academy is like their best-selling series. So of course they're gonna drag everything to get the bag. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I appreciate the hustle, I respect it, but I think it's gone a little bit too far. I have been waiting on book 9, or should I say book 10, because there's a book 8.5 that I believe should be book 9, but it's just a bridging book, apparently. And it happens to be 500 pages. And then I just know that book 9, or should I say 10, is going to probably be like 1,000 pages or something. Maybe they're just gonna keep dragging it out. I just want to know when this book series is going to end. I've put it on my 30 before 30 because I think that it won't end until I'm 30, personally. But who knows, I could be wrong. I refuse to read the series until I know that people are satisfied with the ending. And that's just me personally. I'm not ready to get invested and get my heart broken by reading a series that I might just be uncertain about. I might just not like it. Like, yes, I've collected special editions of these books. And look, if it comes down to it, if I'm not satisfied with the series, or if I'm hearing that people hate the series, then I can always sell the set. I just need to know that the series ends okay. I'm not saying that the series has to have a definitive ending, but I just want to know that the Zodiac Academy series chapter is at least going to shut, and these characters are going to have a break after what they're going through, because I'm hearing that they're going through a lot. I've already heard things about book 8. The fandom seems to be a little bit distraught about it, and I get it, but I just need to know that things are going to be okay in book 9 before I decide that I am going to read the series. And I really just need to know if it is going to end there. Like, I personally don't mind having spin-offs in this series, but I just think that at this point, these twins just need to have their happy ending. I barely know anything about them, but I feel like I'm going to be super attached to them going into the series. And the final book that I have to mention that I have been waiting on forever is the sequel / conclusion to the Chosen Ones series by Veronica Roth. Chosen Ones is one of my favorite books of all time. It's probably one of the best books I've read from Veronica Roth. It's definitely my favorite adult book by Veronica Roth, but I still need to make my mind up about Insurgent. I love this book a lot, and this book ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger where I would expect that the protagonist and a few characters would rise up against what has happened and to try to fix what is going on. And yes, I am being vague about this because I don't want to spoil this for anyone. This book is spectacular. I highly recommend it, and I think that it has an awesome premise. I personally believe that it did did the multiverse concept very well before it got super mainstream. I mean, in the most recent years after this book came out, the multiverse has just kind of like been oversaturated, or at least in superhero media. I think that this book did it very well though. I just really loved aspects of the story. I loved the slow burn. This book was just so good. I've read it 5 times, and all those 5 times I read it the year that it came out, and I was waiting for an announcement for the sequel the next year. We didn't get a sequel in 2021, so then I waited in 2022. Still no announcement. It's now late 2023. There still has not been an announcement, and so yeah, now I just continue to wait. And I will still read everything that Veronica puts out. I think I've kind of made peace with the fact that it might be a while until I see a sequel for Chosen Ones. I don't know if I'm ready to say goodbye to this world, because as much as this could make a standalone with a bittersweet ending, I really think that these characters deserve to make a happy ending out of this series. So fingers crossed this book series gets completed within the next few years. If it doesn't, I will be sad, but I kind of also just hope that Veronica is able to write it in a way where it's kind of perfect. I don't want her to rush the ending either. But I think what makes me a little bit anxious is that we haven't heard anything about the sequel yet, unless I need to pay attention to more of her writing updates, because some of her writing updates I've been keeping track of, but yeah, I think I just need to double check everything before jumping to conclusions. So I guess it's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay to the end of the video, leave me the blue heart emoji. And if you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. My Gswizzlebooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at gswizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later.
Started out with half and I flipped it into double. Started out with half and I flipped it into double.